Hello, everyone. First of all, welcome to ZIA Middle School Parent Meeting Night. And I just want to thank you. My name is Ralph Ramos. I'm the Superintendent of Las Cruces Public Schools. And really, it's just an honor to be here tonight to support the ZIA Middle School learning community, along with our strong leader, Dr. Jamie Baker. And thank you, Dr. Baker, for being here. It's also been really a great pleasure to work with Leanne Garcia, who supervises Dr. Baker, along with the Las Cruces High School feeder pattern and all the schools involved there, which is really a great feeder pattern. I take a lot of pride and honor with ZIA Middle School. I know we have also Kelly Jameson here tonight, who will later on help facilitate, moderate questions, things like that. And then we have Raquel Karim, who's our Spanish interpreter. So hablas español. Ella te puede ayudar también in a breakout unit or a breakout area. So thank you for being here. But first of all, I do want to just thank the parents of ZIA Middle School, really the students as well. Number one, student voice does matter at ZIA. Student voice does matter in Las Cruces Public Schools. Parents' voice does matter. And tonight, the parent voice definitely resonated. And I want to thank the group. I think there was like 37 parents that brought an email, and a very professional email with concerns about ZIA Middle School. And, as a group of parents, you really to support your principal, Dr. Baker, and you wanted to support the staff at ZIA. All the students have, all the possibilities for success there. And I'm kind of going off of your email that you sent me. I know Dr. Baker has been such a fantastic leader, was a comment that was there. And we appreciate her transparency and communication about all the things going on at ZIA. Her newsletter, as it's very detailed, and her action plan is clear. She is truly dedicated to turning ZIA around for the better. And we are all thankful for her. Those were comments that I heard that really resonated to me. And I can't, I totally disagree. I'm sorry, I totally agree with you, with her leadership, because she is really, her heart's in it for ZIA and your community, your students. And I listened and heard your concerns with learning loss, behaviors, disruptions in class, the passing period, inappropriate behaviors that was happening. Student loss is a big one also for me. I mean, that's why we're in school. And then you talk about vacant positions, and then substitutes, and getting the right subs also hired, to, make sure that they're trained to handle not only behaviors, but also to bring the right academic, instruction to our students. So all this, let me tell you, as soon as I received that email, I definitely heard it. I put a team together immediately from central office, led by Dr. Baker, who was definitely engaged immediately. When I read that, I called Ms. Garcia. We had a cell phone, all three of us were on the phone, and we said, we've got to do something here to support. I heard you loud and clear, parents, about the camera situation. I know that that's been kind of like an ongoing thing. Immediately within 24 hours, we got some answers on cameras, which they are working at ZIA. I think that's a huge celebration. And we also trained up our security guards. I know we provided some additional security, not permanently, but until we get at least the culture, where we're all on the same page, and we're going to leave them there for as long as they're needed for that. But I hear there's already some huge shifts for the positive. And I just wanted to, again, to communicate that we're here to support Dr. Baker. She is definitely the right leader for ZIA. We want to ensure that she does have all the supports coming from us at ZIA. And one thing that I think I am going to ask everyone tonight, as well as, tomorrow in any assembly or any parent meeting that you have, Dr. Baker, is I need to get parents, students, staff, everybody to commit to no bullying, no violence, and no drugs. I think when it starts with a commitment there, then we can set some expectations, don't participate, walk away and tell an adult. And to me, that is so important, because if we see something, we say something. And then it's our responsibility as adults, and adults, parents, you're the adults as well. If they go to you, give us a call, give Dr. Baker a call, give us all a call. Let us take action. Teachers, custodians, security, when a student comes up to you with information telling you what's going on, we need to respond as adults, professionals, to help a student. And that's where we look at restorative practices, because we do have mediations where we try to really collaborate with kids and allow that to take place. And, to really change the culture of behavior and expectations. And I think we've gone through a speed bump here, and we're definitely going to get over it. And with that, it just really gives me honor and pleasure to again introduce Dr. Leanne Garcia to go ahead and also take off and share with us some of the action plans that we've already implemented together. Ms. Garcia, I'll turn it over to you now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ramos, and thank you for sharing such tremendous support for Dr. Baker. I have to reiterate just how strong of a leader Dr. Baker is, and it's my pleasure to get to work with her and work alongside her as she transitions into this role and really makes those important shifts that I know that as parents you all have shared need to happen at ZIA so that students, staff, and the entire community is successful. So thank you, Mr. Ramos. As he shared previously, my name is Leanne Garcia, and I work in our leadership department and support the Las Cruces High Feeder Pattern. So I work with the elementary schools, middle school, and Las Cruces High School. And it's been a pleasure to wrap the supports around. And so I wanted to share some of the things that are happening on the instructional side. Mr. Ramos shared some of the things that we're doing around safety and security, which are incredibly important. But we've also been kind of ramping up support through our Teaching and Learning Center. And so some of the things that are already underway will continue to be underway until we have all our open positions filled, as we have our TLC content specialists actively working with our new teachers, with our substitutes. And so they're in classrooms, they're meeting during planning periods. They are doing lesson design, helping with classroom management. But Dr. Baker was quick on it to ensure that she reached out to her colleagues across the district and had that support in place to ensure that students had the best chance at success, even with substitutes in our classrooms. In addition to that, we have a couple of teacher support specialists who work at our Teaching and Learning Center, and they have been doing classroom walkthroughs and working with our substitutes on classroom behavior and classroom management. How do you redirect student behavior? And so those things are ongoing. I had the chance to be on campus just the other day and had some great interactions, and we're starting to notice some trends and able to make some adjustments in real time. And part of that work is making sure that we're not taking those substitutes and those beginning teachers out of the classroom. We've got a strong commitment from our Teaching and Learning Center and our district leaders to ensure that we're keeping the staff in place at schools, and we're pushing in to provide the necessary support that they need at this time. I also want to compliment Dr. Baker on some of the master scheduling decisions that she's made recently. We recognize that we needed some time for our substitutes and our teachers to collaborate with one another, and that was a gap and something that they shared during this transition. So Dr. Baker has put in place the Wednesday late start and ensuring that there's adequate supervision of students during that time, but it gives those teachers some space and time to have those conversations that they need to have to support one another. And we're going to be leveraging some of that time with teachers to do some intensive, I guess I would say, and a reminder on different ways to redirect and what's that positive school climate and culture look like in the classroom. And so I just want to compliment her on making that shift right away. And that work won't stop. We're getting ready to plan for next year. And I know that Dr. Baker has some really creative ideas on how can we ensure that we have the best schedule and conditions for our students moving into next year. And so I'll let her share some of those things as those ideas unfold. But I know that we're looking at all parts of the system and flooding our classrooms with as much support as we can as we make these important hiring decisions and ensuring that we have a stable workforce there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Baker. She's going to give you an update on where things are with those open positions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm blushing. It's really exciting. I'm here in the building and my mom just walked by. She's bringing dinner to all the teachers because we're doing registration here for all of our new incoming sixth graders and parent teacher conferences with families. And I guess I just want to say that before I talk about the staffing updates, how special it is to be part of the Thunderbird family, and even that I could have my own mom come on a Thursday night to bring dinner for our staff. It's a pretty special place to be at, and I'm just grateful for all of the opportunities that this role has brought me. As far as staffing updates, it's a very dynamic process, and I know I do a very transparent updates in our weekly newsletter, but even after today, I have some more updates. So we do have officially a start date of March 6th for our new assistant principal, Mrs. Tisha Apodaca. We stole her from Lynn. She's a Thunderbird now. But someone that I worked with at the TLC and have tremendous respect for, and is going to be an amazing dynamic addition to this already special team of educators that just needs to grow with the vacancies. We're navigating about 17 different positions right now at different stages of the hiring process. And so that is a big thing and a massive undertaking. We did get our new FACS teacher, Miss Nelson. She started up on Monday. She came to us from Camino Real Middle School and has this amazing background as a collegiate athlete, along with a event planner. And so what she brings to that program is really exciting. We've hired Miss Padilla as our Spanish language arts teacher. We've made the decision to keep our bilingual science opening with a permanent sub until the end of the year. Mr. Pirtle, it's been really interesting having the support come in and offer help to our beginning teachers and our substitutes, because they don't recognize him as a beginning teacher because he just seems to be a natural fit with the biology degree in that science subbing position. And so I thank the district for providing me with a sub that has a background in the content so we can keep moving forward with that learning in that classroom. I have exciting news. As of late last night, our ELA position that was Miss Crone and Miss Pacheco has been filled with this amazing new teacher named David Renfro. He will start on Monday, February 27th. He has big visions for supporting a chess club, maybe doing some computer science and esports with us next year. So I think he's going to be a really strong fit for that classroom. We do have a math teacher position opening primarily in 7th grade. The district is supporting me with looking at some student teaching options or a permanent sub type option for that class because of the time of year, and they've been very quick to help facilitate that communication. That position is vacant March 1st, so we've got a little bit of wiggle room to make some thoughtful decisions about who goes into that role. We'll be interviewing for our open reading intervention position next week. We've onboarded a new custodian, Hector Ramirez. His official start date is March 2nd, but that fills in a vacancy that's been in place for months. And I know our custodial team is very excited to have that fourth member to round out the responsibilities and help just keep our school looking the way it deserves to look. It's an old building. It's about 60 years old, but you wouldn't know it because they take care of it with such integrity. And so we are just excited to bring him on as another member of our team. We have put in, as of today, offers to a potential receptionist and a special education teacher. So those positions are well in the works to be filled sooner than later. Our academic support position in special education has been accepted, and that team member, Shannon Hawkes, starts on March 1st. And then we've got 4 education assistant positions open in special education, but 2 are currently filled with permanent subs. And the district has come through and will provide me with 2 more permanent subs to help fill those critical roles. Especially when it comes to supervision of kids, they fill in certain spots during the day, monitoring breakfast and those types of things. So those critical roles, although not permanent, we're seeing that folks are going to be here daily filling what we need as far as those responsibilities. We have 1 bilingual EA position open. That one just posted, so I hope to interview by next week. And then probably the most exciting position that should be posted next week as well is we've submitted a job description and a request for a Title I positive behavior intervention specialist liaison. That would be a bachelor's level social worker to operate what we're conceiving as the Thunderbird Academy. This will be a place to support students who have a whole range of behaviors that we see throughout the day. Anxiety, inability to focus. They've got stuff going on at home and need resources and networking to those resources. Behaviors that aren't conducive in the larger environment. Just a whole range of social emotional learning supports that are better met by having a dedicated space and individual to support those needs in real time as they occur. And so I'm beyond excited that this is a feature that we are going to be able to add to our school sooner than later. And we plan to continue using Title I funds to support that beyond this school year. Very excited for that. Yeah, I just want to thank my colleagues across the board. All of the TLC members are here helping us with our kiddos and getting to know them. They're very much part of this family, even though they serve the entire district. And HR is definitely in contact with me daily, just checking in, making sure if we're shorthanded, I can call and we get someone here immediately. It's just kind of the life and the boat that we're in right now, but I definitely see a very hopeful future filling these positions, not just with anyone, but someone that's a good match for the vision and the community of ZIA. Ms. Leanne?
Awesome. I just wanted to share a little bit about the permanent subs and why those are so important. And so we've been collaborating with our Human Resources Department. Because we have teacher support specialists coming in and working closely with those subs, we wanted to make sure it was the same sub every day and not a different one that was cycling through, because then we could provide them the support, the ongoing professional development in the classroom, and ensure that we have a consistent positive experience for students. So I just wanted to name that because that is part of the overall support plan. While we're actively trying to fill those jobs, we want to have a consistent person who begins to know the students and has the support that they need. So thank you, Dr. Baker, for all your work. I know that that's a heavy lift as you're also managing the day-to-day. So thank you for that. We also wanted to share a little bit. We acknowledge we've got some, in some cases, extreme student behaviors, and we wanted to acknowledge that. And that is obviously a top priority, and we're doing everything that we can to minimize those behaviors. I think starting with some of the strategies that Mr. Ramos shared, having everyone make a commitment understanding what that means, and when they see something, say something, most definitely. Mr. Ramos talked about ensuring that our cameras are up and running and that they're functional. And they are a tool. You know, there's a whole suite of responses that help us create a safe environment for your children. And the cameras are an important tool. But we want to share some of the other things that we have in place as well, because sometimes we say those are great for after something happens. Sometimes our students see them as a preventative strategy. But it's all the things that we're going to do to create that positive and safe environment. In addition to our cameras being functional, Mr. Ramos has also helped us to secure 2 additional security staff at the campus. And so that has been a huge help. I know that as I was on campus the other day, it's such a different experience. And it's calm, and it's nice to have additional support out and engaging with students. That visibility is just really important. So thank you, Mr. Ramos, for that. We hope to continue that for as long as we can, for sure.
Absolutely. And if I could just interject on that, definitely security is so important, but also I'm really looking forward to hiring our Thunderbird Academy expert to really dive in with the intervention, the support, and really someone who cares about the kids with so many different social emotional needs, along with your counseling staff working together. I know when I was a principal at Camino Real, we had a great Wildcat Academy, Picacho, the Sting Academy that's going on there. Mesa Middle School's doing one. So this is definitely a support that I really see in the future staying at the Thunderbird, campus and really taking it to another level. And we've had just nothing but positives so far on other campuses. So really excited about that. And because, we just can't be suspending students all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely a firm believer that we don't like and we don't support criminal violent behaviors. And that's where we follow our policy. But a lot of these type of behaviors need intervention support. And even such as vaping, there's kids with addictions now, and we need to find how we can help them as well. But so excited to see that, Dr. Baker, and I hope we can fill that position, very quickly.
Yes, sir. Me as well. It's just exciting to conceive what we can do to try to help kids when the Thunderbird Academy becomes something that they need. I mean, it's really about navigating relationships, teaching problem-solving skills, self-regulating, and to the point of where there's these behaviors, it all speaks to a dysregulated staff and students in some cases. And so that's really going to help us be strategic about it. The Association for Middle Level Education is a huge proponent of those types of structures, because we know what works in our schools is whatever is consistent and clear and well executed across the board. And so that's really the vision I have for ZIA. I think all of the cabinet has been in agreement with that, and we're working to communicate that across our community as well. I'm really excited that one of the ways that we'll step into this sooner than later is next week. We have 4 of our very strong teacher leaders, Ms. Labarine, a counselor, Mr. Linscomb, Ms. Avalar, and Mr. Gaitan, are going to be headed to New York. I'm a little jealous. I'm hanging back on this one, but they will be attending. They are our beginning behavioral health team that Amy Himmelwright helped us assemble, to not just think about we should wait for these issues until next year. Our issues are now, and so let's deal with them now, but let's deal with them strategically. And so the district has supported me with the funding for this, to send this team to New York to a Leadership Summit. It's for innovative schools. It's a 4-in-1 conference where it addresses things like at-risk students, innovative teaching practices, school discipline, and social emotional learning. And so this team of 4, we sat down yesterday and really looked at cherry picking what sessions they're going to go to that will prioritize what they, being the institutional memory of ZIA, what information they might be able to bring back to an immediate plan, thinking 4th 9 weeks. What adjustments can we make? So a lot of the high priority areas are school culture, responding to emotional needs, understanding the emotional needs of youth. It's not always logical in the adult brain how to understand the adolescent brain. What preventative supports can we put in place for kids who are just wired differently? We serve all kids, not just some kids. And so those sessions I think are really important. And then just overall mental wellness across the community. So I'm excited that they are going to bring back that learning to us. Alongside of that, we have in place a huge level of support that the district is paying for. On March 10th, we're planning a remote learning day that's right before spring break. And thank you for giving me permission to kind of live out this idea that I have of how we can bring it to our community sooner. March 10th is going to be a CHAMPS school-wide training for safe and civil schools. So they're bringing in a highly renowned research-based system of support and training for our entire staff, including the subs, to be trained on some really key pieces of what we feel like we need to reset the expectations and really have a robust roadmap for getting not just through the 4th 9 weeks, but honoring every kid. If you're an 8th grader, I don't want to wait until next year to better serve 8th graders. I want to serve you now. And so that training is going to help us address some key things. So the training's about organizing the classroom for student success, how to motivate the most uncooperative students, how to correct specific misbehaviors, but not just suggestions. Out of this day will come a school-wide staff-informed and CHAMPS-informed plan for how we're going to conduct ourselves the 4th 9 weeks. So that when the kids come back on March 27th, we'll be in classrooms and grade level meetings and communicating system-wide. This is what life at ZIA is going to look like, and Thunderbird kind will be lived by every individual who comes here. So I'm just very excited about that work, and that we figured out a way to not just conceive it for summer training, but for now training. So thank you for that.
Dr. Baker, would you like to answer some questions now?
Sure.
We had some people get on, I think after you had spoken through the security guard updates. So there was a question, can we hire a permanent security guard? Parents are happy to hear that this was a priority. And what is the plan to hire more permanent subs? And I know we kind of touched on this, but for the people that joined late, could you go over again the security update, and is there a plan to hire more permanent subs?
Sure. So we do have 2 additional temporary security guards, as far as another permanent one. That is a funding request that runs through Gabe Hawkes and his leadership team through the district. So I can't answer specifically if that's an option or not, but it's definitely something that we can request. Tell me the other piece of the question. Subs, permanent subs?
Yes. Is there a plan to hire permanent subs
Sure.
for when teachers need time off? I think Leanne spoke about the consistency of teaching staff. Could you just go over that again?
Sure. So we have 3 total permanent subs right now that are in our reading, intervention, academic support, and bilingual science position. I do believe all but the bilingual science position do have the potential to be filled this semester, but we do intend to hold on to that permanent sub in science because it's working, and it's working quite well compared to the very minimal applicants that have put in for it. It's better, I think, to wait to permanently fill that position until the summer opens up and more people are looking to perhaps change positions or join the profession. I did get permission today. I don't know if it's permission or I got the go ahead that they are looking to place 2 more additional permanent subs here at ZIA that will report daily so that we can work. Every morning is a little bit like Tetris, piecing together the map to make sure that every classroom is covered and that all areas of the school are taken care of. And the district has committed those positions to me so that we can do that work a little bit easier than it's been going in the past.
There was another question related to the subs. When there is a sub, how do they know that a student has an IEP?
Sure. So every substitute teacher is given a set of expectations and what goes on, and we have folders set up for each of our classrooms that are confidential and private that contain those behavior intervention plans and IEP, just the accommodations or modifications for students with IEPs in a private location that's locked up, that can be accessible, that gets turned in and checked in and out each day so that they are informed about some of the unique needs that some of our students have. That was, I think, more of an issue when it's a different person every day. There really is a brighter future now that we're finding folks that can be committed more permanently and consistently at our school.
We have a few questions about accountability. And there was one parent who asked, how do we continue to support and encourage our children who are dealing with daily verbal and physical aggression issues? Do you have any recommendations for parents on how they can support their students at home that might be dealing with this type of extreme behaviors that Leanne was acknowledging also?
Sure. And I'm sure all of us have some different ideas. For me, it boils down to keep talking to your kid, keep talking to your kid, keep talking to your kid. That line of communication is so important. We do have room to grow in terms of a culture of see something, say something across the board. I know that in certain situations, there's a fear of retaliation. There's a fear that your child may not be safe if they come forward with how others are treating them. Those behaviors and that form of bullying are just unacceptable. And so encourage your kid to come talk to me, talk to a counselor, talk to you, and you can be their voice if they're not comfortable doing that. I would much rather be in my office on the phone until 8 o'clock every night, hearing what I need to hear so that school is a place that your child wants to come to and that you have the trust in what's happening here. To know that your kiddo is being taken care of and receiving the type of treatment that they should. I know there's a lot of that, and it does go with middle school that we see these types of behaviors quite often, but we do know that some of it is very extreme and has perhaps gone unchecked, or students didn't feel comfortable saying it. It breaks my heart when a kid comes in and says, this has been going on for months, and it's the first time an adult that can help has heard about it. And so please, I think uncomfortable communication is more important than no communication.
Dr. Baker, if I could just interject on that as well. And really I know you're getting a brand new assistant principal for your admin team. And I know there'll be 3 of you together. But also, if you could please do some quick assessments as far as our administrators being able to really facilitate an effective mediation with, bullying that takes place. And I think it's really important to include your counselors in on those mediations. So please keep me abreast on that. Gosh, with my experience in middle school and facilitating those, I would love to, at least have a training with expectations, but also documentation, because it's got to be a win-win and everybody's going to know where we stand, and a lot of times I know we never want to force kids to apologize, but there's got to be opportunities for them to be remorseful and really to fix it. And a lot of times it's rumors and things like that. So I really, want to encourage that, and whatever I can do to help support on that.
I appreciate that. A lot of what I've talked to kids about today, even is hands to yourselves, unkind words to yourselves, and learning to say, I'm sorry. We just had an instance today with a parent that came in and expressed some issues about bullying. And that was exactly to your point. You said it earlier in your introduction that it's important to listen to kids when they tell you. If kids have the impression that the adults aren't listening, they're not going to be willing to share things with us. And our plan of action is on Wednesday when the kids return. If both parties are willing, one definitely is, to bring these students together and have them work with myself and a counselor to talk through their issues. And hopefully I'll be doing more of the listening so they can find that solution themselves. I completely agree. Whenever that opportunity is there, seize it. In some instances, we know that the bullying has gone so far that we have to take more aggressive disciplinary action. And we read each of those situations very specifically and individually before just going down a road of get out. I think that listening piece is just so critical.
Dr. Baker, one parent had a very direct question about what is the district and what is the ZIA community doing to support training for teachers and staff when it comes to these types of situations on campus.
So there's been a lot of training over the course of the year in restorative practices and those types of things. A lot of it comes through in our core and our leadership team meetings, where we meet every other week with teachers and representatives of the entire building with myself to hear about what they're seeing, what their ideas about it are, and how we can target those behaviors. So the most robust form of training, in my mind, being new to this building, for all of us to kind of come together around some everybody has ideas and different experiences and levels of things. It's going to be this CHAMPS training that will carry on into a multi-year contract for our behavior support team to really make a strategic way, not just to have category A, B, C, D infractions, but how are we going to talk to kids and work through and help them understand what to expect when a misbehavior happens. There's quite a bit of that, but I know with so much movement in the staff, we're going to have to revisit those. And I believe this training is the ticket to that.
Dr. Baker, can you also answer the assemblies that you've already had to get students to commit by grade level? And I think that's really important to know that, what you've already done on that.
Yeah, so it's really exciting when you pull the kids together and did you know you're the class of 2028, and start getting them to think about what it's going to mean in the next few years, making these big decisions of finishing your public education experience. So when I call them family meetings, we have to start treating each other like a family. And I use that analogy a lot when I go into classrooms, that this is our family dinner table in a classroom, and we're going to have some tough decisions and talks about some things that we're seeing that we need to work on as a family. One of the things, just clarifying expectations, don't assume anything about anyone, honor your word. Some of these 4 agreements that kids can really put into terms that are tangible at these family meetings. One of the exercises I did with the kids was take a bowl and set them up with a scenario of, you think this person is saying this about you, so you lose your temper. And I gave them a tube of toothpaste and let them squirt it out. This is all the stuff that came out. And then I have them try to put all the toothpaste back in. And once those words come out, you can never take them back. And so when we do that, we're putting up walls that prevent us from being able to move forward as a family. And that's something that I need you to think before you speak. And when you make a mistake, we have to be willing to say we're sorry. And so that's something that I've communicated with our entire staff and then with the students. So when we have one-on-one meetings or situations, that's consistent language that that we're using across the board. Same thing with tardy expectations, why it's important to come to work on time, and really sharing that data with our kids and our community, because that's been a problem to the point of the misbehaviors during transitions. I noticed that immediately when I came in, that yes, more misbehaviors are happening because they're not taking the 3 minutes seriously to get from point A to point B. And so we've implemented some structures that are consistent for navigating that piece as well. But I do feel like in the short 5 weeks that I've been here, a lot of it is being very visible with the kids, getting to know their names. I've got probably about half of them by first name at this point, which is a huge undertaking, but that's the work that we have to really boil it down to as a community if we're going to restore calm and peace and safety, emotional safety and physical within our building.
Dr. Baker, there's a parent that asked, is there anything specific being done about the vaping problem on campus?
So there's progressive discipline as far as vaping is concerned. A new resource that finally made its way down to the marshal's office is a juvenile youth diversion program, so that when a student is caught with a vape, you know, there's certain situations where they can be cited by our on-site school resource officer, but there's also diversion programs where they can go and receive counseling and mandatory classes to learn more about the dangers of vaping and those sorts of things. So that's a tool that we are starting to use. We have Suite 360, which are online lessons that help kids understand the choices and the consequences of this very dangerous thing that's taken over society, it feels like some days. And there's other interventions that we're looking at doing this spring. We have Officer Kelly of the LCPD has offered to come in and do some individual smaller classes specifically with students who have disciplinary infractions related to vaping. And we've also put in some planning work with the National Guard, who can also come in and provide more of an overview training, not just of the dangers of vaping, but fentanyl and the dangers of fentanyl in a very real national crisis that we're seeing, especially being so close to the border where many of these things are making their way into our communities. The only way to help our kids is through education. And so those are programs and resources that we've been looking at and trying to plot on a calendar. There's only so many weeks in the school year, but yes, I think a lot of it in our mind is there's the preventative piece and the education piece, and there's also the how do we respond when it's chronic. And we offer counseling and additional resources to our students because many of them are addicted, and that requires another set of interventions that we support through counseling and referrals to outside agencies. And then manning our bathrooms. Every wing in our buildings have been given the task in the last 2 weeks to give me, how are you going to check on the bathrooms? It depends on male, female, and that type of thing. So every wing is submitting a plan to me over supervision during transitions of our restrooms, because those tend to be the hot spots for things like vaping.
We have a couple of instructional questions. One asks, do you have plans to fill the honors science position and the AES program? It's changed, and are there any plans moving forward with that?
Our AES program and facilitator will continue offering gifted seminars, one of the options for service minutes, in addition to the case management piece. So that's the biggest resource right now. Haven't had a lot of time to do more talks about bigger things that we could be doing. So I'm really open to that conversation. Having a gifted kid myself, I know this is such a formative time where their asynchronous development appears in droves socially versus academically and intellectually. So I appreciate that question. I don't have a super robust answer for it other than I understand it's, you know, there's differences in how people are wired, and we need to have avenues to support those differences throughout the day. What was the other question? AES and honors science.
Honors science.
So I'm not sure which one you're talking about. There's been a couple of drops in science. So Miss Winters did fill the position left vacant by Miss Carrera. And she is a certified, highly qualified teacher in those classes. And then the bilingual science is the one that we've talked about that is staying with a permanent sub.
There was another question about the Thunderbird Academy. Could you talk about that again and elaborate on what is the Thunderbird Academy?
So we're envisioning it. We're actually looking with Ms. Himmelwright's office at different curriculums and resources that we could use to not just staff this area of our school. It will likely be a classroom space or even a portable. We have this amazing outdoor learning space going in right now as we speak next to our portables. And so we kind of envision that being a nice little flexible learning space for students who are either in school suspended because lots of reasons can cause an in-school suspension and a need for a little bit more intensive work on school in a smaller environment with some more social emotional support with our social worker. So it could be for that. We envision it having a calm space and some different things in it for students who need, maybe they're overstimulated and they have high anxiety just from the chaos and the movement throughout middle school. And so there will be a dedicated kind of quiet space and some tools and sensory things in that space for students to go kind of collect themselves, talk to someone if they need to, or just have a moment to gather their feelings before they move into the next class. It can be a whole range of things depending on what our students need, but it's also a position that can function in between our school counselors and administration to support some social and emotional learning needs with our kids. I really envision it being this becomes your adult and your trusted adult. That is an additional resource, not the person responsible for your grades or discipline when you break a rule, but is there to really look at your situation and how we can support you through some of the hardships that come with being a preteen and teenager fixing to move on into high school. So it could be a workspace for schoolwork too.
One of the last questions has to do with the vacancies. I know you've addressed those extensively this last hour. The question is, do you have an understanding of why there were so many vacancies? And is there anything the district can do to prevent it in the future?
I feel like there's probably 10 different answers to that question. We're seeing vacancies in high need areas across the country. There's a feature of that isn't necessarily unique to ZIA Middle School. It is higher than other areas, especially in the district right now. There's a lot of different reasons. Many staff have said they needed a change. We have one that went active duty. We had a couple that retired. We've had a couple leave because they say they don't have the stamina to deal with some of the behaviors that they've experienced here. I think it's very dynamic and individualized to each specific teacher and why they decide to move and when they decide to move. I've talked to many of the parents that are probably in this meeting that know I've never been in a building that has experienced this high volume of loss at this time of year, at this level. It's a lot. Our teachers some of them are tired. It's been a long year. There's been a lot of change. It's difficult coming out of a pandemic and experiencing this sort of thing. So I wish I had a really solid, strong answer for all the reasons why, but I think it's important to, as we work through this, it feels like trauma some days. It's just important too to know that coming in there, each one of these vacancies is an opportunity to find someone that believes in the vision of ZIA Middle School, knows something about the community, is invested, and can bring something that we might need that was left behind by someone else. And so while it's heartbreaking to have these moments of instability and struggle, I also see them very much as opportunities to kind of select our own and bring the best that we can into the lives of your children.
Dr. Baker, there's a parent who addressed the climate of sometimes very racist and homophobic slurs that are being used casually and aggressively on campus. Do you have an example of how you specifically address those when they happen?
Sure. Well, I have one example from last week. I heard a kid say it outside in front of the bus, and I heard it and I interrupted it. And then I made sure when I was at the parent drop-off station the following day, I waited for his mom to drop off, and then I talked to her in the drop-off line about that behavior and whether or not she accepts that as a form of language that a student should be using in our school. And that fixed it right away. It really depends on the kid and hopefully support from family. The one thing I will always do is call home. You're not going to talk to someone like that when I hear it. You're going to call home. We are going to have that conversation. You may get Sweet 360. You may get sent home. We can't tolerate that. And I know for the number of times I interrupt it, it's probably happened so many more times. I know it feels bigger than me some days. And that's partially why I know teachers interrupt it, but maybe not enough. I can't answer that with hard concrete data, but I think that's also why our Safe and Civil Schools initiative and approach to really defining who we are, what we expect of ourselves, and what we expect of our kids doesn't tolerate that form of talk between anyone. Treat others the way you want to be treated. If we could all live that way in all aspects of our lives, the world would be a better place for it. But to just sit back and idly hear, and I had a parent today tell me, well, that's just how kids talk to each other. No, it's not. And if we allow it, they will become adults that talk to one another that way. And it's our job to teach them better.
Here's the last question. It's a really great one to end on before we wrap up comments. How can the community and parents support the forward movements for ZIA?
Oh, that's a great question. I know there's a lot of interest in growing PTO and support for our teachers and honoring the work that they do every day. I very much want to be part of that work and assembling that core list and coming together to come up with a widely accessible form of communication and collaboration with one another. I think that's important. I also, communication, it takes time, but it's the work worth doing on behalf of our kids. I very much see this group of parents across the board. We're all advocates for the same thing. We want the best education and social and emotional development for our kids that they can possibly have. So you are supporting me by reading my newsletters, by asking me the hard questions, by holding me and our teachers accountable. I think what I know is that the change can't happen fast enough in certain areas, and I'm trying to be patient with myself and just the situation, because I know changing a culture doesn't happen overnight, and we will embrace that together. My hope in the partnership is that we continue talking and supporting one another so that trust is reestablished in the places where it's been broken for whatever reason. There's lots of different things and situations, but having been a student at this school and then getting the privilege to learn how to be a teacher here and then come back and be a leader here, I just feel so blessed and bonded to the mission that we're all trying to work towards. Please don't be strangers. I always say my door is open. It is. And if I make a mistake, I will say I'm sorry. I think that transparency is what is going to help carry us forward together, but just your constant involvement and support and feedback. I need to hear where we can do better. And although I know there's a lot of pockets of it, I don't want any kid going home and telling their parent, I don't want to go back tomorrow. And I know that's happening more than it should be. I'm so grateful for all of the support from the district that's come in to make some of these small steps we're taking big wins for the future of our school. There's so much to celebrate with the kindness dance was a huge hit. Kids had to work pretty hard to earn that, and I'm proud of that. there's just so many great things to see here that aren't just the big glaring concern areas. I got to watch a video of a little guy in orchestra this morning directing the class, and he's actually going to direct one of the songs because he wants to be on the other side of the podium instead of playing. I just thought that what a neat thing that those are the stories that we don't always get to hear about or prioritize. And I get to be the lucky one to see your kids doing some of those things. So please, my doors are open and you're always welcome in this school so that we can partner together to make it better.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Baker. Leanne, Mr. Ramos, we've got about 5 minutes if you wanted to wrap up comments.
I'll kind of open up. I just wanted to say thank you for all of your kind of comments, your feedback, and for supporting Dr. Baker and all of us. I think a thread tonight is just transparent and open communication is critical for us all to move forward. Communication needs to be positive, transparent, and open with students. And so I just thank you for giving us this opportunity to share with you some of the great things that are happening, but also to be honest about some of the challenges that we're facing now. And Dr. Baker has shared with me numerous times the great support that she's feeling. And I just ask that you continue to support ZIA, continue to reach out to us and help us shift the narrative, because right now we know that there's some things that need some work, but we're committed. I saw in some of the questions that you had, like, please continue to commit time and support to ZIA, and we will continue to do that. And so your partnership's really important to us, and I just ask that you continue to support us and let us know where we can do better. So I appreciate you all being here tonight. This has been a fantastic, I think, opportunity to learn together.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. And I'll go ahead and close tonight. And I really want to thank, again, Dr. Baker, but tonight I want to thank the parents for getting involved, for advocating for your children, and the ZIA community. That is so important. Your voice does matter. We did listen. We did take action. And we'll continue to be working together to ensure, students, number one, are safe, but that are receiving, the education that they deserve every day in the classroom. And this didn't happen overnight, and it's going to take time, but let's keep chipping away and working together. And again, talk to your students at home. Thank you for committing to no bullying, no violence, no drugs. Don't participate, walk away, tell an adult, if you see something, say something, but, don't take it in your hands. Let an adult handle it. And I will assure you that we will continue working with adults, working in so many different ways to take action. And I know I read one of the comments in the box earlier was about mediations, that's not how to address bullying, and it's conflict resolution. And you're exactly right, that comment that came there, but conflict resolution is a process on how you work together and, with students. And again, it's always educating students. And a lot of times, when students realize how they're hurting other individuals, that's the shift where they start to do things better. And it's going to take time, but we want to be there for you. And again, thank you, parents, for advocating for ZIA. And I see some good things happening here. Thank you very much. Dr. Baker?
Ditto, yes, across the board. My commitments when I took this job were to celebrate where celebration is deserved, treat your kid as though they were my own when they're in my under my leadership, and then eliminate disruptions to teaching and learning in whatever way we can when they're happening. And so I know it's a very dynamic, sometimes frustrating and hopeful process. I just thank our parents for giving me a chance and really believing in the work that we can do together. I'm the lucky one. I'm just grateful. It's exhausting. Everyone knows that, but it's the work worth doing on behalf of the students in this community. And they are precious, wonderful, awkward, quirky, hilarious, smart kids. And it's just a privilege to be part of that work to help them move through this stage of life and get ready for that next step in high school. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to do this work.
Well, this will conclude our meeting with our parents at ZIA tonight. So thank you everyone again for attending, continue communicating, and we look forward to the better future at ZIA Middle School. Thank you, and go Thunderbirds.
Yay,
you,
go
everyone.
T-Birds.
Go T-Birds.